Hello, everyone, and welcome to Friday. I'm back at home. Fridays used to be like, I feel like there's a lot of hype around Fridays because it's like the beginning of the weekend. But when you start working for yourself, and especially if you're like in the wedding photography market or portrait photography, it tends to kind of flip your week a little bit so that like Friday, you're usually gearing up for something on Saturday, on Sunday, or you're at something on Friday. And then like Monday through Wednesday, you usually have off. So, that's a thing, I guess. And the other thing is that we came back. So we landed in Toronto and went to my car, and somebody stole my license plates off my car at the Value Park Garage at Pearson Airport in Toronto. Just kind of a bummer. This exact same thing happened to Lindsay like 2 weeks ago in the same garage. We were like, there's no way they'll just like keep hitting the same place over and over again. But apparently criminals aren't that smart, or it's just a known place to go to pick up license plates. So I don't know what I guess I'll have to figure out how to get new plates. They didn't really tell me that. They just took the report, and Lindsay's plates were used in a bank robbery, which is pretty exciting. The other thing, maybe I'll take a moment to tell you the fun and excitement of that story real quick, and then we're going to get into something. I guess this is related. Today we're talking about entertainment. So this is an entertaining story that has nothing to do with photography. So we are sitting a couple weeks ago when we were in LA. We're sitting in Santa Monica with our friend Cooper. Cooper runs mobile for Universal Records. Really super awesome guy. Lindsay gets a few phone calls from her dad in a row. I get a phone call from her dad in a row, two from her dad. And then at that point, we realized like something must be seriously wrong. Like who died, what happened. Lindsay picks up the call, goes out front, and I guess the police came to Lindsay's parents' house at midnight and knocked on the door and were like, do you know where your daughter's car is? Like, would she have lent it to anyone? And her dad's like, I have no idea. She's in California right now. So they called, or her dad called us. And essentially the information we had at the time was that her car was stolen, that the car was gone. So the next morning, we call the police once they're back in. He goes to actually get a visual on the fact that the car is in fact stolen. He shows up and he starts describing a Jeep that looks very similar to Lindsay's, but is not exactly the same Lindsay Jeep, because she has a little tiny Drake air freshener, which is the thing you can get, the rap artist Drake, hanging from her mirror. So that was not there. And then the rest of the description wasn't really her car. So at this point, the cop was like, okay, so clearly what happened was they just like dumped this old Jeep and picked up the new Jeep and carried on with their criminal lives. Meanwhile, we sent him the image of the exact parking spot that we parked in. It turns out like later in the day that he actually went and got a visual on a completely different Jeep that was parked 2 spots away from her Jeep. And he just didn't kind of look over 2 spots to spot the other white Jeep with no plates on it. So very, very confusing police work, considering we sent them an exact photo. Today also kind of just a general letdown of the fact that like stuff like that happens. I'm going to say lots, and nobody cares at all. So like they take the reports, but they never investigate anything, which seems, I don't know, it's a bit sketchy. So today we're talking about entertainment. To wrap that story up, Lindsay's Jeep was not stolen, just her plates. So we got back to the airport and her car was there. And as we did today, you just get the fun and excitement of driving home without plates. And in a Jeep, it's kind of fine. I feel like it almost hides the fact that there's no license plates on it. On my Mercedes, it's very, very apparent that there are no license plates on it because it's a very white car. And the other, I guess, comical thing is that it looks really, really sketchy. So we're driving home with no plates, but I'll get some tomorrow. Or maybe if I get vanity plates or something, maybe they won't steal them again. But I don't know if I want vanity plates. Today, entertainment and why entertainment is important to your photography career. And the early thing that I learned was just by creating entertaining images, I seem to get a lot more traction by specifically the weird project we did in Japan with a bunch of tennis photos. It seemed to get a lot of traction online and a lot of response from people because it was entertaining, because it wasn't boring, typical work. And I think that it's important, I guess, to start off the list of tips here. Number one is to just like never become completely predictable, that if you're creating the exact same like wedding photos or the exact same portraits or the exact same family photos every single weekend, well, it is great that you're showing consistency. You're showing that you can create good, consistent quality work. The downside is you do kind of become a little bit boring. And I know that a lot of other photographers in the educational space, I guess mine is the unpopular opinion that you don't have to just like completely niche down and the only work that you release is completely related to exactly what you're doing. That I find that by releasing a lot of travel work and just things that get people talking and actually give people something to talk about when they meet up with me. And if I was just running a wedding photography only Instagram, I feel like it would be like, oh, cool, pretty picture. And next, if they don't know the couple, it just really won't resonate with them as much. But if you give them something like the swimming pigs of Exuma, Bahamas, that's something that if they see it, the next time they run into you, that they're going to be talking about it. They're going to show their friends. They're going to share it with their friends to be like, look at this crazy thing that Taylor did. So above all else, I think that it just is kind of a testament to the thing that I've been saying quite a lot is just to live an interesting life. So go out there and do the things that maybe you wouldn't typically do. One, because they're a heck of a lot of fun usually. And two, because you need to constantly be generating new, interesting, and educational as well as entertaining content for your audience. And your audience is potentially brides. It's potentially a little bit bigger than that. I think for who I'm generating content for, I guess I have kind of two tiers of this. So one is for you guys, for like the internet, the people that want to learn photography. So that's kind of the one tier. The second tier that I create entertaining content for, and just things to make people talk and to inspire people to travel or inspire people maybe to take different photo angles at different locations, is creating content for specifically our local wedding market. And that doesn't mean just for other photographers. That means creating content. I know that a lot of the venue, the staff, the people that work at different venues all follow me. So I want to be able to create stuff that they're able to talk about me, to like share with their friends, to, I guess, like just get me back in their mind. And this is by no means a single, like a 1 week project, a 2 week project. This is like an entire lifestyle shift to really start creating content like this. If you want to go on the polar extreme, what I did was I created my show, A Photographer In, and I just started filming like kind of vlog style content and just really showcasing what I did in photography. And that seemed to get a lot of them very interested. I'm fairly certain that most of the venue, anybody that's associated with the venue, pretty much any florist, any other photographers in the local area know that I travel a lot, and they know that they can go on YouTube and watch me traveling if they're ever like, hey, like, what should I do on vacation? And I want to go somewhere that's photogenic and maybe a little bit interesting, but not like the total dark tourist route, that they can come to my Instagram page or my YouTube page and actually engage with that content, which I obviously am creating to put out there into the world to bring people back into, I guess, like my personal space and get them connected with myself. So if this can be a kick to make you go out and create some sort of interesting thing, or to plan an interesting adventure of some sort, or even just meet up with interesting people and start creating interesting content together, I think that that would be a very successful 8-minute podcast. So if these 8 minutes have inspired you to, one, not park your car at the Toronto Pearson Airport Value Park Garage, or two, to go out and create great content that your audience is going to be receptive of, but not necessarily just straight up boring content that is exactly along the lines of what you're doing every single week. That if you can make something that gets people talking about you, that's how you really start to grow and cultivate more of kind of a niche local celebrity image, rather than just being another photographer in the sea of photographers. As we talked about in the storytelling episode, like really get dialed back with who you are as a photographer, why you do the things that you do, and go forth and create lots of content that all kind of link back at that, and to show how cool you are as a human being as well as a photographer. Because I feel like most of the people that are booking with me are booking me first because they would like to hang out with me, and also that I've ticked all the boxes for being a professional, consistent, good photographer. So you need to be doing all of those things if you want to be successful in this oversaturated industry. And also just like a reminder that because wedding photography is an oversaturated industry, it's actually a positive thing, because that means that people are actually willing to spend money. And also kind of the wedding ratchet is actually, I don't remember if I touched on this, but Seth Godin did a podcast called Akimbo, and he talks about kind of the wedding ratchet effect, that everybody wants to have a wedding that is like, oh, we don't want an average wedding. We want an average plus like a little bit, because we feel like we're a little bit greater than average. And every single person that does that and spends that extra like $3,000 or $4,000 on a wedding, that ratchet gets a little bit tighter and goes up one more notch. So that the next people that if they want to have an average plus wedding, now they're going to have to do what they did as an average, their friends all last year, their everybody that they're aware of. And now they have to do it a little bit more, which usually just means more money spent on weddings. So there definitely is a lot of money to be made if you are a wedding photographer. There's definitely a lot of money to be made if you're a portrait photographer, because there are so many photographers out there right now that really are just like beginning and don't have the professional persona that you are able to cultivate, since you're clearly a lot more passionate about creating an amazing business that will really transform your life. So those are my thoughts for today: creating entertaining content, living an interesting life. And then I think this all kind of comes down to the content that you consume as well. And I tend to spend a lot of time, I kind of go through seasons of my content consumption, that for 3 months, I won't watch anything, that I'll live in a complete vacuum, or I guess the opposite of a vacuum, where I'm just like pumping out lots of content and not really consuming a lot. And then I will go into these different stages to get involved with specific individuals, whether that is somebody in like the business mindset, or that is somebody, another photographer on YouTube, like a Peter McKinnon, or somebody that's completely opposite of you, that you can learn from the fact that they are nothing like you at all. And I think that that is an important thing to reflect back on yourself, to realize, okay, these are the pieces that I want to include in my business. And these are the pieces that really, it doesn't matter to me so much, that I don't need to be a great landscape photographer to do what makes me happy. And the more that you can learn about what you don't want to do, the easier it is to really firm up on what you do want to do, and really start putting everything into that. And I guess pushing that wheel forward and creating an amazing business and an amazing life. Thank you so much for listening today. I will see you again tomorrow for Saturday on the podcast. I haven't decided what I'm going to talk about yet. So if you have any suggestions, maybe send me a DM on Instagram. I'm happy to answer any questions in tomorrow's podcast. See you then.